chicken curry, anyone? This chicken curry is going to make you a believer from your very first sniff. Hey folks, I'm Aslin Blow from linsfood.com and Singaporean and Malaysian recipes.com. Today's curry is called Ayam Kapitan. Chicken Kapitan. Ayam means chicken in Malay. It is a rich and highly aromatic curry from the Nyonya community in Singapore and Malaysia. That's N-Y-O, Nyo, N-Y-A, Nya, Nyonya. There isn't a corresponding pronunciation in the English language for that. It is a very easy recipe to make once you have access to the specialist Southeast Asian ingredients that are used in the recipe. Let's take a look. As far as the ingredients are concerned, chicken curry means chicken, right? You know me by now. I much prefer buying portions of chicken when I'm cooking chicken curry, chicken stew, whatever, because that way I get the best portions or my favorite portions, but this is up to you. If you prefer buying a whole chicken and chopping it up into its various parts, then that's fine. I've got drumsticks and chicken thighs. I've left the skin on the chicken thighs because I love chicken skin. One of the pleasures of life. And bone on the thighs and obviously the drumsticks. Now, if you prefer skinless meat, if you prefer boneless meat, if you prefer chicken breasts, that's fine. And if you want, you can also chop it up into little bite-sized pieces, as this would quite often be served in restaurants in Malacca and all around Singapore and Malaysia. But I prefer to leave my chicken pieces whole. So besides the chicken, a very important part of the recipe is the spice paste. In many Nyonya, Malay and Indonesian recipes, the spice paste plays a huge part in the flavor and the cooking of a recipe. In Malay, we call it Rempah. And it's a word that's used by the Malays, by the Nyonyas, by the Eurasians, and also the Chinese and the Indians, depending on where they happen to live in the country. It's one of those local words that's used by many of the ethnic communities or groups in the two countries. So the spice base is made up of onions, we've got garlic, lemongrass, which I did a video on, galangal. Can't remember if I've got a video on this, but I certainly have a blog post about it. Ginger and turmeric. If you don't have access to turmeric root, turmeric powder, ground turmeric will suffice. And galangal. No two ways about it, you need it. In these days of online shopping, galangal can be found pretty easily. If not necessarily in its fresh form, then you can certainly find pastes and powder. Galangal powder is pretty good because it's concentrated and you want the aroma. Ginger is never a substitute for galangal. Citrusy, spicy, floral and sweet. Completely different characteristics. Then we have buah keras or candle nuts. I shall do a video about it soon. And then we've got shrimp paste, that stinky, smelly Southeast Asian ingredient that many of us love so much. So this, along with our dried red chillies, is going to make up our spice paste. Let's get started immediately with soaking our dried red chillies for at least 15 minutes. The longer you soak your chillies or the hotter your water, the softer the chillies are going to be, which means they will grind to a finer paste better. So all we're going to do is to, actually you probably don't even need scissors with that, you just break it up because they're dried chillies. So All we do after breaking up those chilies is we soak them in plenty of hot water. I've literally just boiled this kettle. Covering it will speed it up ever so slightly. Leave it soaking for a good 15 minutes. 15 minutes ought to do when it's freshly boiled hot water. So while those chilies are soaking, we're going to get all our other ingredients ready for our spice paste. We're going to just chop up a little bit of ginger, chop up a little bit of turmeric, and chop up a little bit of galangal and lemongrass. I've got 3 lemongrass stalks here. I'm going to chop up 2 for the paste and bruise 1 to add to the spice paste as it's actually frying up. So my chopped onions are already in there. To make it easier for lemongrass to be chopped, we cut them into rings. So place the lemongrass in there. The 3rd lemongrass, all we're going to do that's bruising a lemongrass video right there if you want to read up more about it. And then galangal. Galangal is a very, very tough tuber. So we want about 2.5 cm. Then you've got your shrimp paste that goes in there. Usually, before we use shrimp paste, we would roast it. But I'm quite happy to, if I'm cooking the shrimp paste, I'm quite happy to use it as it is. You're not losing out on any of that umami and richness that it imparts into your dishes. Then we've got our, good catch, candle nuts. And then we've got our garlic, about 6 medium cloves of garlic, but if they're fairly big, 5. If they're really big, 4 or 3. So our dried chilies have had enough soaking time. I've drained them, I've given them a quick rinse and basically shaken out some of the seeds. So it's just going to go into the rest of our spice paste ingredients, basically onion, garlic, ginger, galangal, turmeric, candle nuts, lemongrass and shrimp paste. I've got a bit of oil in there, about 4 tablespoons of oil. And we're going to start off with frying our spice paste. Remember that bruised lemongrass? We're going to throw that in there as well. We're going to cook this spice paste for a good 5 minutes. If you find that it's catching too much, reduce the heat ever so slightly to say medium-low. We want to cook the spice paste to a stage where the oil splits. It's a principle that's used in many, many cuisines. Indians and Pakistanis do it too. And in Malay, we call it pecah minyak. Pecah is to break, broken. Minyak is oil. This is the point where the spice paste loses its raw taste, its raw flavor. Much of the liquid or water content of the spice paste has been cooked off and essentially changes from an emulsion to a distinct oil and paste mix. This can take anything up to about 20 minutes. To a large extent, it depends on how much water content you've got in the spice paste. Here, we didn't add any water. Our water content came from our aromatics, obviously. But then we've also got candle nuts, which has a huge oil content. So it doesn't take long for this spice paste to reach its pecah minyak or oil splitting stage. There's a distinct separation, isn't there? You can see the paste and the oil. So now we're going to add our chicken pieces. And we're going to coat our chicken pieces thoroughly with the spice paste, with a beautiful, delicious, aromatic spice paste. And then we're going to add our coconut milk. And then we pour it on the side so as not to rinse the chicken pieces, so to speak. And then we're going to add that water. Ingredient list is in the description, okay? I've got 4 kaffir lime leaves here. To use kaffir limes whole, you basically tear the edges to allow the aroma to be released better, and then just drop it in. Stir the kaffir limes in, kaffir lime leaves in. Leave everything to come to a simmer, and then we reduce the heat to medium low. We're going to cook it for 30 to 45 minutes. If you've got tiny bite-sized pieces, 30 ought to suffice. If you've got chicken on the bone, 45 minutes. If you've got chicken legs and huge chicken legs or drumsticks, then you might even want to go a whole hour, which means you will need a little more water. So that's it. Our curry's come to a simmer. I'm going to leave it to cook, and I shall see you in 45 minutes. Okay, so Ayam Kapitan has had about 40 minutes or so. Chicken looks like it's cooked. So remember our leftover lime leaves? I've got about 4 small ones. So I'm just going to dump that in there. Leave the lime leaves to do their magic for about, say, a minute or 2 will suffice, honestly. And then that's it. Our Chicken Kapitan is all done. Don't forget to do a taste test. Yeah, that's perfect. Add more salt if you want more salt. We've only added about half a teaspoon, but if you think it needs more salt, by all means. The shrimp paste is salty, very salty, so it imparts salt into our curry as well. Now you'll notice with our Ayam Kapitan, after cooking, that there's a lot of oil floating at the top. Let me turn that extractor off. There we go, you can hear me better now. Let's turn that off, that's done. So the oil that's floating at the top, it is up to you. You can scoop it off, which is really, really easily done, and get rid of it. That's the oil. Or you can leave it in there, stir it into your chicken curry. It's completely up to you. The oil comes from our coconut milk, of course. We used about 4 tablespoons of oil to fry the paste. And of course, the chicken, because I'm using chicken thighs with skin on. So there's a lot of fat in there. So what you want to do with it is completely up to you. I usually scoop off the layer of oil. So that's it. Our Ayam Kapitan or Chicken Kapitan is now cooked. It's pretty rich in terms of flavor. So if you wanted more curry sauce, more gravy, however you call it, add a little more water and then adjust our salt content accordingly. And then one final piece of the puzzle is crispy fried shallots. A signature look for Ayam Kapitan or Chicken Kapitan is to have it finished with a sprinkling of crispy fried shallots. Now these are easily available at East Asian shops, even perhaps South Asian shops or Indian, Pakistani shops. So there you have it. Ayam Kapitan. I shall see you guys real soon.